Is everybody ready? We are raring and revved. Ready to go. The EIB network and the Rush Limbaugh program. Meeting and surpassing all audience expectations every day. Great to have you with us, my friends. The telephone number is 800-282-2882. The email address, lrushbo@eibnet.us. Lest there be any doubt, and I don't know how there could be any longer, but if there is any doubt of the relentless, undiluted, sheer hatred for conservatism, for Donald Trump and Mike Pence, all you have to do is look at the media in unison in North Korea trying to make a heroine out of the sister of Kim Jong-Un. She is a ranking member of the regime. As such, she oversees the genocide of North Korean citizens, the jailing of political dissidents and so forth, and to call her the hero of the Olympic Games, to say that she came and won over everyone with a massive charm offensive, and the fact that she may have offended Mike Pence makes her a hero to the drive-by media. Their hatred for conservatism is such that anybody else who also shares disagreement or hatred of conservatives, Republicans, or whatever will be friends with the American left and the Democrat Party. You know, ratings for this Olympic Games are way, way down, and there are a whole host of reasons why. This is on a par with, but much worse than the media promoting and siding with the protests of the American flag, the American people, the American military, and the cops when the NFL players took a knee. I mean, the media was all over that, too. They thought that was great. That was a statement against America. It's why they love Obama and Michigan. Now you've got Mike Pence, who, by the way, they continue to rip Pence for that Religious Freedom Restoration Act in Indiana when he was the governor. They hated that. The Religious Freedom Restoration Act was designed to let people that own bakeries and photo shops and so forth refuse to do a service for people who violated their religious beliefs. Ergo, if a gay couple came and wanted you to do the cake for their reception and you said no, you could be sued if you were using your religious objections, your religious freedom. So they passed a law saying people are free to do this. The media went bat crazy, and they scoured the state trying to find a business that would admit that they would not cater a gay wedding. They found a little pizzeria in a suburb of something, a 21-year-old daughter of the owner who didn't know what, I mean, she just... no idea. Well, yes, we certainly would not, because our religious beliefs say that we... That's all the media needed, and off and running, and the whole state of Indiana is a bunch of bigots and a bunch of hope, and they haven't forgotten it, and they're still slamming Pence with that. I guess there's a couple of gay guys on the Olympic team that said something insulting about Pence, and they built that back up. But these people do not realize, I'm talking about the media, they still don't realize they are killing the Democrat Party doing this kind of stuff. There's nobody in this country romanticizing the North Koreans. There's nobody in this country that thinks Kim Jong-Un and his sister would be preferable to Mike Pence. Okay, correction, there are some, and it's a lunatic fringe, and it's by no means anywhere near a majority, but the media just can't help itself, and it's just it's infuriating to have to sit there. And there's not just one or two; it's 15 different media organizations that joined this parade, singing the praises of the sister of Kim Jong-Un, and she apparently frowned at Pence, and that made her an even bigger hero, or I should say, heroine. Now, you know that a lot of people are not watching the Olympics live. The NBC TV ratings are tanking, frankly. And there are a number of reasons for it. One of the reasons is that NBC is delaying a lot of the events, and yet you can catch them live anywhere you want via streaming. So by the time NBC airs some of these big events, like the opening ceremony, have already been seen by millions of people. And they are accessing whatever website they can, whether they're domestic or foreign. And you know, it's kind of a microcosm for what is happening in sports broadcasting. You can find raw feed coverage out there where all you get is the event. You don't get any announcers. You don't get any. What do you call those features? Okay, so you got some skier from Norway, so we're going to do a personality package on the guy. So they go to Norway and they do a little mini bio of the guy's life. You know, adversities he's overcome, being beaten by his father, growing up near a sewer, skiing was the only thing to get him out of whatever. You know, do one of those packages. You don't have to put up with that stuff if you don't want to now. If you watch the televised coverage, you have to get all of that, nobody shuts up. And the event ceases to be the event. They never let the sport speak for itself. They always have to have commentary, packages, what have you. And I think one of the reasons ratings are down is it's not just the time difference. I would like to know, I don't care enough to actually study it myself, but of an hour of Olympic coverage, how many minutes is actual competition versus how much is announcers talking to each other about whatever, personality profile packages of some of the performers, and, of course, the obligatory piece on the sexual harasser up there in Wisconsin or wherever, and then advertisements. I wonder what percentage of every hour's telecast is actually sporting content. Anyway, now, well, it may be too cold for the Winter Olympics. They've had to cancel some events because it's too windy, it's too cold. There's freezing rain being swept across the courses, say, for downhill skiing. Headline story here from, this is Bloomberg, billionaires and athletes freeze as winter smacks Olympics. Well, yeah, it's the Winter Olympics. Why is it news that it's winter at the Winter Olympics? These Olympics are being lashed by a winter that's proving a little too cold for comfort, with temperatures dipping to as low as 13 degrees. The games in South Korea are poised to be the coldest in 2 decades. How can this be with climate change happening? How can this be with global warming? Nobody's asking that. The freezing weather, combined with wind gusts of more than 45 miles an hour at some venues, has delayed 3 alpine skiing competitions and fueled concerns over the safety and the performance of the athletes. It's also not sparing the throngs of spectators and other celebrities at the event. You've seen that this Olympics also is a record number of condoms have been issued to the competitors. You didn't see. You're not covering. You're not paying attention to Olympic news, are you? Well, I'm not either, but I have to collect this. You know, we are a primary source of information for millions, and I realize that many may not be paying much attention to it. But I'm just little trivia tidbits. The largest number of condoms distributed ever at an Olympics. Staying warm that way, yes. But it's not new to stay warm that way during wintertime. But the record number of condoms distributed says something. Greetings and welcome back. Great to have you. Rush Limbaugh serving humanity and all who live. The Excellence in Broadcasting Network, and getting started here on a brand new week of excursions into broadcast excellence. 800-282-2882 if you want to be on the program. The email address, lrushbo@eibnet.us. I just want to reference one more time the media's falling in love with the sister of Kim Jong-Un. It's as so much today, as compared to years gone by. Under normal circumstances, it'd be a laughable event, and it is in several ways. But it also is highly indicative. It's a teachable moment. It's very illustrative. And I think it is dangerous. I saw F. Chuck Todd the other day. Well, I didn't see him. I read that F. Chuck Todd is now exacerbated. He's a host of Meet the Press, NBC. He's now exasperated. He just at his wit's end. I don't know how to deal with Trump. This country is in the worst shape it's ever been, and we got somebody unserious, somebody who's just a reprobate, just from top to bottom, morning to night, just a full-bred reprobate. So demeaning, so embarrassing for all of us in our country. And then we watch his industry implode right before we watch his industry sidle up to America's enemies time and time again. And they treat the arrival of the sister of Kim Jong-Un as a feature profile, as they would any of the athletes participating in the games. And they fall in love with this woman who is the sister of a genocidal mass murderer. They fall in love with her simply because they think she upstages Mike Pence, the vice president of the United States. The degree of hatred, it's not just that the media is opposed and that they're biased and that they're liberal. They are harboring, right along with the Democrat Party, I think it's the highest concentration of hate that we find in the country today. Not somewhere on the fringe right, but right in the mainstream of the Democrat Party and in the mainstream of the media. A visceral hate. Now, I think some of the hate is residue from the still inexplicable to them Hillary Clinton defeat. I think a lot of them are in shock, PTSD, can't accept it, can't get over it, doesn't make sense, doesn't compute. None of their reality going into that election was realized. And they're really having a tough time dealing with it. And so they take the occasion of virtually any event to illustrate their hatred, their anger, resentment, whatever, toward Trump and the Trump administration. And whatever event it is, they amplify it and blow it up way out of proportion and don't let it go. And I don't think, in one sense, I'm fine with them doing it because I think that they are doing irreparable harm to their side. I think they're doing lasting damage to their side. All of this hate is not how you build a massive majority movement that leads and dominates. And it's certainly not how you build an optimistic, uplifting society or culture or country. Now, you can maximize hate for a while, and you can make it pay off. But these people are running up now on... Well, it depends on where you start. You can start when Trump announced, and we're into our third year of hate. Or you could start when Trump got the nomination, or you could start when Trump won the election. If you start there, the hatred has not lessened. It is only intensified, and it's poison. Hatred poisons the beholder. And it blinds these people to truth and reality all around them, and it's embarrassing. I mean, of all the countries in the world to sidle up to and to promote, but it's who they are. This is the teachable moment about it, I think. And for any of their acolytes who join them in this, oh, yeah, Kim Jong-un's sister, much preferable to Mike Pence and Donald Trump. Absolutely. Far more decent human beings, far better, far more refined. It's just mind-boggling to watch these people go on and on and on about. Some of the tweets that have come out from the media, from CNN, are just mind-boggling. Headlines: this is New York Times. Kim Jong-un's sister turns on the charm, taking Pence's spotlight. And you know what I think was going on? I think the media was involved in a contest. Who could disrespect Mike Pence the greatest, the more? Who could do it? Who could do the best job? So CNN's competing with the New York Times, is competing with the Washington Post, is competing with Reuters, is competing with the Associated Press, is competing with the LA Times, is competing with CBS, ABC, NBC, and each headline got progressively worse as the media competes with each other. And they end up expressing love and support for a murdering communist dictator, which, of course, is not unique to the New York Times or the drive-by media. Listen to this. Let me just give some excerpts here from the New York Times on February 11th. This is the Sunday paper yesterday. While Mr. Pence came to South Korea with an old message, Ms. Kim delivered messages of reconciliation, as well as an unexpected invitation from her brother to the South Korean president to visit Pyongyang, the North Korean capital, and maybe return home. Pence came with an old message. What's the old message? That the United States would continue to ratchet up maximum sanctions until the North dismantled its nuclear arsenal. That's an old message. That's tired and worn out. It happens to be the message of Barack Hussein Obama. It happens to be the message of Madeleine Albright and Bill Clinton, except they didn't do anything about it. But the sister, who is part of the regime, she's not sitting at home knitting. She's not watching reality shows. She is part of the regime. She oversees the genocidal policies in this country. Ms. Kim delivered messages of reconciliation. Reconciliation. And, of course, Mike Pence, he is not interested in reconciliation. Mike Pence is a bigot. Mike Pence is a homophobe. Mike Pence is this, and so is Donald Trump. Ms. Kim attracted attention wherever she turned up, at the opening ceremony, in the stands, at the Olympic debut of the Korean women's ice hockey team. But Mr. Pence drew the greatest reaction for where he did not appear. Most pointedly at a dinner Mr. Moon hosted before the opening ceremony. Mr. Moon is the South Korean president, not to be confused with the Reverend Sun Myung Moon. This is a different Moon. And since Pence did not appear, it meant he avoided spending time with the North Korean delegation, including Kim Yong-nam, the country's ceremonial head of state. That's the sister. So Pence was a reprobate. Pence was rude. Pence refused. He was small. He refused to show up. He refused to offer respect. That's exactly right. What do you want to welcome these people? This is exactly what's wrong with the United Nations. This is exactly what's wrong with globalism. In globalist existences, United Nations, the United States is always the problem. Look at Venezuela. Do you believe what's happening? Folks, you better be on the lookout for Venezuela. All during the George W. Bush presidency, all we heard about was Hugo Chavez. He's so great. Hugo Chavez is such a wonderful leader. He has a wonderful socialist nation where everybody's needs are met, where everybody is happy. It's pure socialism, and this guy would go to the United Nations and refer to Trump as Satan, and the media would applaud it. Well, there is a mass exodus going on from Venezuela right now. Thousands and thousands of people are fleeing Venezuela for Colombia. There is desperate hunger. People are eating dirt. Crime is soaring. There is an economic crisis. This is an oil state where the government nationalized the oil business and still went belly up and broke. This was a pure socialist government that many American actors and actresses praised as the vision of the future. What life could really be. It's an absolute misery state. Thousands of desperate Venezuelans fleeing hunger, inflation, and the political crisis threatening to engulf Venezuela. Colombia has sent extra soldiers to patrol their porous border with Venezuela. Here they come, folks. We have an exodus, a mass exodus from a once glorious socialist enterprise. People are fleeing Venezuela into Colombia. Colombian lawmakers beginning to tighten border controls, and wait what happens when they do. Guess what they're going to be called? And they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop in Colombia. They're going to keep coming. They're going to go one direction. They're going to go north. And if they ever get close to our border, you can damn well guarantee that the media and the Democrats are going to demand that they be allowed to enter. Because it's going to be our fault that Venezuela imploded, because our presidents always signaled Venezuela as an enemy, and we would not cooperate with Hugo Chavez, so we had to turn to his buddy Fidel Castro. You watch. We're going to get blamed for it. Not socialism itself. The wall needs to go up. Meanwhile, we continue to sing the praises of a similar, even deadlier regime in North Korea, as though they are nothing more, as I say, than a feature profile at the Olympics. North Korean propaganda. U.S. media outlets swoon for Kim Yo-jong. CNN tweeted, Kim Jong-un's sister stealing the show at the Winter Olympics. It's no wonder fewer and fewer people watching. New York Times tweet, without a word, only flashing smiles. Kim Jong-un's sister outflanked Vice President Pence in diplomacy. She's a smarter diplomat. She's a prettier diplomat. She's a better-looking diplomat, and she is smarter than Pence. And she didn't have to say a word to outflank and upstage Pence. I'm telling you, the hatred they have all over the place. You know, I know that drive-bys, I know our media love dictatorships, and I know they love communist socialist regimes. But I haven't seen this much love for a brutal dictator since they loved Castro. I mean, all over the place, drive-by stories about how awesome that daughter or sister or whatever of the slugs in North Korea is. And they're comparing her to Ivanka. Comparing her. She is the North Korean Ivanka Trump. She's not the daughter, she's the sister of the thug, and she is one of the thugs. That's the point. Now, are these people in the media really this ignorant of history, or are they just this consumed with hatred? Probably a little bit of both. A Washington Post columnist demanded that Bethany Mandel apologize to North Korea. This is from the Twitchy website. Bethany Mandel writes at The Federalist, and she's being asked to apologize for a tweet that she sent out by the columnist Gene Weingarten at the Washington Post. She tweeted out, "The media shall continue in its years-long obsession with the dangers of fake news after having spent the weekend running propaganda for the most brutal regime in human history. And they'll claim that it's Trump, not their own actions, to blame for continued spiral of trust." And this guy from the New York Times responds, "It's not the most brutal regime in human history, Bethany. You need to apologize." So the Washington Post had a guy telling her she needed to apologize to North Korea for calling them the most murderous regime in history. And Bethany Mandel wrote back, "You people are nuts. They think it was Hitler." She points out that there isn't, in modern American history, modern world history, there is not a murderous genocidal regime that has been in power as long as this one in North Korea. That the Nazis don't even compare. But Gene Weingarten at the Washington Post doesn't know. As far as he's concerned, because he doesn't know history either. I think journalists are so absent knowledge of history, and it's one of the primary ingredients for being a good journalist, if you ask me. Hitler is the worst. By far, no comparison, nobody even close. Hitler can't compare. He also cited Pol Pot, Khmer Rouge, and so forth. Well, they were all brutal. There's no question, the North Vietnamese, but they weren't in power anywhere near as long as the North Koreans have been. It's not even close. Half my brain tied behind my back, just to make it fair. Here at the EIB Network and the prestigious Limbaugh Institute, here is Smokey in Coronado, California. Great to have you, Smokey. What's happening? What's up?
Hey, thanks, Rush. I would just notice that less than 2 weeks ago at the State of the Union address, I mean, you juxtapose those two North Koreans, the young boy who amputee with crutches, and then you add on the warm beer family. What a moving tribute to our country and what goes on in North Korea. Literally 12 days later, our media has completely forgotten that, must think the American people don't care. And then they embrace this part of the thug family in North Korea. And then I think back about what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump, he was chastised royally by the media for being his statements could be misinterpreted by the leader of North Korea. What does the media's fawning all over this woman say to the leader of North Korea? Does that say that, hey, we in America, we're really, you guys are actually on the right track?
No, that's a great question. What the media's messaging says to the leader of North Korea is that he can play them like a Stradivarius, that he can use the United States media for all the propaganda he wants. That's what it means. That is a great point. That is a great question. The leader of North Korea is looking at our media and laughing and salivating and realizing he just found the best propaganda army. He may even fire his own propaganda minister. He doesn't need the guy, whoever it is. He's got the American media. And all he has to do to mobilize the American media is to continue to express hatred, dislike, criticism of Donald Trump, or to engage in threatening activity toward the United States, and it's all going to be blamed on Trump. That is the knee-jerk reaction of the media. It's I was going to say it's stunning how easy it is to trigger them, but it really isn't. It's not stunning. It's not unusual to see how easy it is they can be triggered. Doesn't take much at all to animate their true feelings of disgust and hatred toward Donald Trump. And it doesn't matter who else is expressing similar hatred and disgust. It could be the most slimy SOB in the world, and that person is going to become an associate and a friend of the media. Trump calling Kim Jong-Un Rocket Man. And, of course, what do the media do and the Democrats? You don't show that kind of disrespect to the leader of a foreign country that may, in fact, have nuclear weapons. You just don't do that. You don't talk to them that way. And you're right. I'm sure the media, I bet you, if the truth be known, the media was snickering right along with the Democrats at Trump's calling out of the North Korean kid who left and had a desire to become an American and went all over the world, whatever it had to do, he did. The media thinks stories like that are probably exaggerated, not really true, and they're nothing but show, because that's what their Democrat presidents did with those people up in the gallery. That's a good point. We'll be back. Hang tough, folks. Back before you know it here. And welcome back. Rush Limbaugh having more fun than a human being should be allowed to have. Welcome back, folks. 800-282-2882. We're next. Let me just look. That'd be Joe in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Great to have you. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Fine and dandy. Thank you.
Cool. So, Rush, I heard you talking earlier about the young lady from North Korea being the new awe and wonder of the world at the Olympics. And I wondered why we're not hearing more out of our mainstream media about the new ability for transgendered athletes to compete in the Olympics, yet there's none there.
How do we know that there's none there?
Well, I did a quick search on it to find out just what it was a little bit, who was allowed to be there, and men.
Wait a minute. What does this have to do with the babe from North Korea? Is she transgender?
All the attention's on her.
What?
Why is the media paying so much attention to her? I would have thought that they would have grasped to the idea that there's not more representation of transgendered athletes now that they're allowed to be there.
Well, it's not a mystery why they are focusing on the babe from North Korea. It gives them an opportunity to bash Pence and Trump.
But don't you think that they would pay more attention to, because the Olympics will allow men to compete as women?
They don't care about paying attention. They don't care about paying attention to the Olympics. This is about Pence being detested and a reprobate, and justifiably so, because this babe in North Korea is more popular than he is at the Olympics. That's their message. That's what they want people to know. They want people to think Mike Pence is an absolutely disgusting, wandering shred of human debris right along with Donald Trump. And,
I understand.
And making a heroine out of this thug babe, genocidal maniac from North Korea is a vehicle for it. But your point about transgender athletes, when you coupled that with the babe in North Korea, is there something about her that I don't know that you know? But that's not right. You're just saying there's some there, or there aren't any there, even though they could be there.
Right. Well, it's the idea that for a year, if a man can demonstrate a low enough testosterone level, they can compete as a woman in the Olympics.
Well, haven't the Russians been proving this, and East Germans been proving this for years?
Right. But there's a qualifier there. They can't just feel like they're a man that wants to compete as a woman. They actually have to test and meet certain standards to show that they can be.
But you're saying in this case that's not needed. All they have to do is say, I think I am a woman, and they get into the woman's locker room with the gymnasts and whatever, and then compete.
What's the opposite?
Or the opposite.
It's actually the opposite of that, which is why I wonder why the media is not having a fit over why can't you just say, I feel like a woman and compete as a woman. You actually have to meet certain criteria.
So you're saying the Olympic organizing committee is actually being hyper-discriminating here.
Yeah, you have to have such a low level of testosterone.
Right. In other words, if you're going to claim to be a woman, you have to be able to prove it, or if you're going to be a man, you're going to have to be able to prove it, and you think the media ought to find that as unfair.
Yeah, I just think that I would have thought the liberal media would have grabbed hold of the idea that you can't just say
give them time
and compete as a woman.
Give them time. We're only into the first 4 days of this mess. Give them time. In fact, they monitor this program. You may have just sparked an idea. We'll keep a sharp eye. He may have a point. Olympics discriminated against transgenders, not allowing men who feel like women to blank with women. A blank against women. What have you. Compete, shower, dress, fill in the blank. Thank you for that, Joe. Appreciate it. By the way, President Trump is going to propose the biggest civil service change in 40 years. It consists of hire the best and fire the worst, a novel concept in government. There's lots exciting going on. So be back here tomorrow, folks. See you then.